The galaxy was vast, dark, and full of secrets. Among the countless stars, a single human warship moved silently, almost like it belonged nowhere. The Intrepid was not large, but it was sleek, practical, and efficient. Its hull reflected distant starlight, making it hard to spot with ordinary scanners. On the bridge, Captain Alina Marlowe leaned over the navigation console, her eyes scanning the endless field of stars. Her crew worked quietly, moving with confidence and precision. Each one had trained for years, not just in piloting and combat, but in thinking creatively, solving problems that no manual could explain. "Distance to the next waypoint?" she asked. 700 kilometers, Captain," said Lieutenant Harris, the navigator. He was young but sharp, with the kind of intuition that made him valuable in situations no computer could predict. "Keep the course steady," Alina replied, "and watch for any anomalies." They didn't have to wait long. Far ahead, a fleet of alien ships appeared on the sensors. Sleek, angular, and terrifying in design, the aliens were known as the Zerath, a species that prided itself on control and perfection. Their ships carried advanced tracking systems, designed to locate and capture even the most hidden targets. Lieutenant Harris frowned. "Captain, we're being tracked. They've locked onto our signature." Alina raised an eyebrow but did not show alarm. "Good, let them watch. It will make things interesting." The aliens communicated in strange pulses of light and frequency, scanning, analyzing, and marking the human ship in their systems. To them, it was just another target, a small, unknown vessel drifting into their territory. But the humans were different. They were never predictable. "Do we alter course?" Harris asked, his fingers hovering over the controls. "No," Alina said firmly. "We stay the course. Let them think they understand us." The bridge fell silent. Outside, stars streaked past as the Intrepid moved smoothly through space. The crew knew what the aliens could not. Humans were clever, adaptable, and willing to take risks that no alien logic could calculate. In the alien fleet, commanders studied their screens, confident. "Prepare to intercept," one of them ordered. Their scanners had locked on the humans, and they believed victory was already theirs. The humans were just another small prey in the vastness of space. Back on the Intrepid, Alina watched the blinking red marker on the main display. It was the alien tracker, pulsing rhythmically as it tried to follow the ship's movements. But humans had ways of confusing even the best systems. "Engineer, status report," she called. Lieutenant Vega, the ship's engineer, looked up from her console. "Hull integrity is stable. Engines at optimal performance. I'm running minor adjustments to the energy output. It should make our sensor signature slightly erratic." Alina smiled. "Perfect. Let's give them a challenge." The crew began to execute small, subtle maneuvers. Tiny shifts in speed and course made the Intrepid's signature jitter on the alien screens. The Zerath trackers, designed to follow rigid and predictable patterns, began to flicker and lag. "What is happening?" one alien commander hissed. "They should not be able to do this. Their movements, they don't follow logic." "They're human," another said, almost with disdain. "Still primitive, still clever maybe, but they will not escape our focus." Meanwhile, aboard the human ship, the atmosphere was calm but alert. Every crew member understood their role. The navigator predicted the aliens' maneuvers. The engineer subtly altered the ship's energy signature, and the communications officer, Lieutenant Patel, sent out harmless signals to confuse the Zerath sensors. "They think they see us," Patel said quietly. "But what they see is a lie," Alina nodded. "Exactly, keep it that way." The aliens began to move in formation, believing that the humans would panic or try to flee, but humans had different instincts. They did not run. They adapted, they improvised, and they observed. Every move the aliens made gave the Intrepid crew more information. Hours passed in this delicate dance. The Intrepid weaved in and out of asteroid clusters, using the debris to mask their energy signature. The aliens followed, confident in their calculations, yet each step seemed slightly wrong. Every time they thought they had the humans cornered, the Intrepid would slip through in ways they had not predicted. On the bridge, Alina finally spoke. "Harris, how long until they realize we're not reacting the way they expect?" "Depends on how long their pride lasts," Harris replied with a wry smile. "Not long, I'd guess." Alina chuckled softly. "Good, let them underestimate us. That is our advantage." The aliens, growing increasingly frustrated, decided to escalate. They deployed advanced tracking drones designed to latch onto the human ship and relay constant data. But the humans anticipated this. Vega had prepared small decoy devices, tiny drones that mimicked the ship's energy signature. When the alien trackers latched onto the decoys, they were misled, thinking the real ship had moved elsewhere. "What?" an alien commander muttered as his screens flickered with conflicting data. "Why are they?" "They are humans," another whispered. "We cannot understand them fully." A faint hum ran through the Intrepid. Alina touched her hand to the console, feeling the subtle vibrations of the ship responding to their maneuvers. The humans were playing a game of logic and improvisation, and for the first time the aliens were losing. "Captain," Patel said, leaning forward. "They're getting impatient. Their formations are breaking down. I can feed them another false signal, make them think we've split into 3 ships." "Do it," Alina ordered. The sensors blinked, showing multiple copies of the Intrepid moving in different directions. The aliens scrambled to follow, their scanners overloaded with false data. In the alien fleet, tension grew. What should have been a simple hunt was turning into a nightmare of confusion. Their pride, their confidence, and their superior technology seemed useless against a species that did not act according to rules. Back on the Intrepid, Alina allowed herself a small smile. The crew's synergy was perfect. They were not just surviving, they were teaching a lesson. Not through force, but through ingenuity, adaptability, and the unyielding human spirit. "Prepare for the next waypoint," Alina said. "We keep them guessing." As the ship accelerated toward the next sector, the stars outside blurred into streaks of light. The humans knew they were being watched, but they were in control of the situation. The aliens, though technologically superior, had no idea how unpredictable humans could be. In the silence of space, one thought passed through Alina's mind. They track us. They think they know us. They have no idea what's coming. And with that, the Intrepid disappeared into the darkness, leaving the alien fleet scrambling behind, chasing shadows and realizing that in this vast galaxy, humans were not to be underestimated. For the first time, the aliens felt something unfamiliar, uncertainty, and humanity thrived in it. The Intrepid moved like a ghost through the asteroid belt. Tiny rocks and glowing ice chunks drifted lazily in the void, creating perfect cover for the human warship. Outside, the Zareth fleet struggled to maintain formation, their sensors blinded by decoys and false energy signals. On the bridge, Captain Alina Marlowe leaned forward, eyes sharp. "Status?" she asked. Lieutenant Harris, the navigator, pointed at his console. "They're splitting their fleet. 3 groups now, each following different false signals. Their coordination is breaking down. They don't understand our patterns." Alina nodded slowly. "Good, let them overcommit. That's when they make mistakes." Lieutenant Vega, the ship's engineer, tapped a series of controls. "I've adjusted the decoy drones to mimic micro-movements of the ship. Even if they figure out one, the others will confuse them. They'll waste resources trying to predict us." The humans had spent years preparing for situations like this, not because they expected every encounter to go wrong, but because human ingenuity thrived in chaos. They adapted, they improvised, and they could think in ways no alien logic could anticipate. "Lieutenant Patel," Alina said, turning to the communications officer. "Can we feed them something more?" Patel's fingers flew across the console. "Already on it, Captain." "I'm sending simulated transmissions. like we're splitting into multiple ships, transmitting false energy pulses. They'll think they're being smart, but it's just smoke. Outside, the Zarath fleet faltered. They had never seen this kind of trickery. Their systems were precise, their tactics perfected over centuries, yet humans were unpredictable. Every move they made was countered before they even realized it. One of the alien commanders hissed, "They cannot be allowed to escape. Do not let them play games with us." But their pride worked against them. The aliens relied on patterns, on predictability. Humans had none. The Intrepid weaved through the asteroid field, sometimes appearing directly in the path of a large rock only to slip past at the last second. The aliens followed, thinking they could corner the humans, but the ship vanished and reappeared in unexpected directions. "Captain," Harris said, frowning at the data, "they're trying to predict our escape vector. They're slowing down, analyzing every micro-movement. But it's impossible, they can't keep up with all the false trails." Alina leaned back in her chair. "Exactly, let them overthink. Humans never make the same move twice in a row. We learn, adapt, and improvise." Meanwhile, Vega prepared another layer of misdirection. She activated small energy bursts from the ship's engines that mimicked jumps in speed. The aliens' trackers showed the Intrepid as splitting into 5 different ships, all moving in different directions. The aliens panicked. Their communications were filled with static and confusion as they tried to regroup. "Focus on the largest signature," one commander barked. "That is the real ship." But they were wrong. The humans had planned for this. Harris had guided the Intrepid along a trajectory that intersected with one of the decoys, making the aliens think they had locked onto the correct target. Every movement was deliberate misdirection. "Captain," Patel said, eyes on the screens, "they're sending intercept units ahead. They've identified what they think is us. We need to move before they close in." Alina smiled faintly. "We already have. Keep the course steady. Don't show panic. Let them think they're winning." Inside the alien flagship, frustration boiled over. How can a primitive species, humans, outsmart our advanced fleet? They do not even have proper tactical AI like ours. Another alien commander replied, voice low, "They do not need AI. They think differently. They anticipate, improvise, and somehow manipulate our sensors. Their unpredictability is their weapon." The humans were aware of every movement the aliens made. Each overreaction, each misstep was information. Every false chase drained the Zarath's fleet resources, slowing them down and lowering their confidence. Hours turned into cycles of maneuvering. The asteroid belt became a theater for a silent battle of wits. The humans did not fire a shot. They did not need to. Every trick, every clever diversion weakened the aliens psychologically. Harris pointed at the console. "Captain, we're approaching the center of the belt. The asteroid density is increasing. Perfect cover for our next move." Alina nodded. "Good. Vega, initiate the phase stabilizers. Patel, continue the false transmissions. Let's show them a little more human ingenuity." The Intrepid stabilizers hummed softly, subtly adjusting the ship's alignment with the surrounding space. Small, almost invisible shifts made the ship appear to vanish, even from nearby sensors. The alien fleet followed the decoys, unaware that the humans were slipping between their detection grids. "Wait," Harris said, eyes widening. "They're slowing down and splitting again. 3 groups all trying to predict us, all falling into our traps. Captain, this is working better than expected." Alina allowed herself a small smile. "That's the advantage of being human, Lieutenant. When logic fails, creativity wins." Patel transmitted another signal, mimicking an energy spike that suggested the Intrepid had entered a hidden jump corridor. The aliens responded immediately, sending units to intercept what they believed was the humans' escape route. Vega shook her head, amused. "They're running into empty space. They'll never find us there. Their sensors are designed for predictability. They can't handle improvisation." The human crew watched in quiet satisfaction as the Zerath fleet floundered. For the first time, the aliens were not in control. Their confidence was replaced with confusion, and confusion was dangerous for a species that valued precision above all else. Hours passed, and the asteroid belt began to thin. The Intrepid emerged on the other side, undetected, leaving the alien fleet chasing shadows and false signals. The human crew had achieved more than survival. They had demonstrated intelligence that no alien system could match. On the bridge, Alina stood, looking at the stars ahead. They still think they're winning. They still think they can predict us. Let them think that. It's more fun this way. Harris laughed quietly. Captain, they've wasted half their fleet trying to track decoys. They have no idea where we are now. Alina nodded. Good. Vega, continue monitoring their sensors. Patel, keep feeding false trails. I want them exhausted before they realize what happened. As the crew worked, a strange calm settled over the ship. No one celebrated loudly, but there was a sense of quiet pride. Humans did not rely on brute force or overwhelming firepower. They relied on something else, something the aliens could not understand. Time passed, and the Intrepid approached the edge of the sector. Harris frowned. Captain, they're regrouping. They might realize we've outsmarted them. Alina shook her head. Let them try. Even if they figure it out, it will be too late. They've already underestimated us. In the alien fleet, the commanders argued. We cannot let a primitive species continue unchallenged. They are unpredictable, dangerous. Yes, another replied. They manipulate our systems without even touching them. How can we fight against that? The humans, however, did not need to fight. They had already demonstrated superiority, not through weapons, but through thought, creativity, and cooperation. As the stars stretched before them, the Intrepid moved silently onward. The aliens were still watching, still tracking, but they were no closer to understanding humans than when they had first spotted the ship. Alina's voice cut through the quiet of the bridge. Remember this, crew. The galaxy expects humans to be predictable. They think they can calculate us. They think they understand us. Let them keep thinking that. It will always be our advantage. The crew smiled quietly, feeling the thrill of victory without a single shot fired. They had not just survived. They had won a mental and strategic battle against a far superior force. Outside, the Zerath fleet faltered, their confidence shaken. They would need time, resources, and analysis to understand the humans' tactics, and even then, there were no guarantees. The Intrepid disappeared into the distance, leaving the aliens scrambling behind, trapped in a web of deception and cleverness they could not untangle. And for the humans, it was just another day in space, an adventure, a test of wits, and a reminder that no matter the odds, creativity and teamwork could triumph over raw power. The hunt had begun, and the humans were already winning. The Intrepid sailed through the dark expanse of space, leaving the confused Zerath fleet far behind. Yet the humans knew the aliens were still tracking them, still watching, still plotting. The difference now was that the aliens no longer believed this would be a simple hunt. They were cautious, hesitant, and, most importantly, underestimating nothing. On the bridge, Captain Alina Marlowe stood with her arms crossed, eyes fixed on the swirling patterns of distant stars. They're learning, she said quietly. Lieutenant Harris, the navigator, looked up. Learning. Captain, they still have no idea what we're capable of. They think they're tracking us, but all they're following are shadows, decoys, and errors we planted. Alina smiled. Exactly, but now it's time to reveal just enough to make them question everything. Vega, the engineer, tapped at her console. I've prepped the ship for short-phase maneuvers. Not full jumps, just enough to slip partially out of sync with normal space. It's tricky, but it will make us nearly invisible to their sensors for a few minutes at a time. Patel, the communications officer, raised an eyebrow. They won't see it coming. Their sensors are designed for predictability. Even a minor phase shift will confuse them completely. Alina nodded. Good. Initiate the sequence when they are closest, but keep our decoys active. We want them confused, not scared yet. Far ahead, the Zareth fleet had regrouped. Their commanders stared at their monitors, frustration evident in their body language. We cannot let them slip away again, one said. They are different. Not just unpredictable, they are adapting faster than our systems can calculate. Another Zareth officer growled. It is impossible. No species has ever done this before. They trick our scanners, they evade intercepts. And yet they do not flee, they challenge us. The aliens were beginning to realize something fundamental. Humans were not merely clever. They were fundamentally unlike any species the galaxy had encountered. They did not rely only on technology. They relied on intuition, creativity, and cooperation in ways the aliens could not understand. On the Intrepid, Alina gave her order. Harris, guide us through the center of the nebula. Vega, start phase maneuvers. Patel, send the usual decoys, but amplify them this time. The ship hummed, almost imperceptibly as its hull shifted slightly out of normal space. Sensors on the Intrepid flickered, blending with the cosmic radiation of the nebula. To the aliens, it was as if the human ship had vanished. In the Zareth fleet, alarms blared. They've disappeared. Impossible. They cannot disappear, a commander shouted. Our sensors are perfect. But no system is perfect against unpredictability. The Intrepid slipped between the alien units, phasing in and out just long enough to stay invisible. The decoys continued to transmit false signals, making it appear as if multiple human ships were weaving through the nebula. Harris grinned. Captain, we're inside the nebula. Their tracking is gone. They're chasing ghosts. Alina allowed herself a small smile. Exactly. Now let's see how they react when they realize they've been outsmarted again. The aliens were panicking. Their fleet split into multiple groups, each following a different false trail. Their communications became frantic, their formations chaotic. No one had ever faced an opponent that could manipulate technology without touching it. On the bridge, Patel watched with quiet satisfaction. They're trying to converge on the decoys. They're completely misled. Their frustration is palpable. Vega added, and soon they'll realize that even if they catch a decoy, it tells them nothing about the real ship. By the time they understand, we'll be long gone. Hours passed. The Intrepid navigated through a maze of cosmic clouds, small asteroid clusters, and radiation pockets that would have been dangerous for less experienced pilots. The humans moved with confidence, almost dancing through the obstacles, always one step ahead. In the alien fleet, a commander barked orders trying to regain control. Converge on the largest signal, lock all sensors, we cannot lose them again. But it was too late. The humans were already testing the next phase of their plan. Harris, Alina said, initiate synchronized decoy jump. Vega, ready the microphase bursts. Patel, feed them a signal suggesting a split in 3 directions simultaneously. The Intrepid executed the sequence flawlessly. 3 phantom ships appeared on the alien sensors, each moving in different directions. The aliens scrambled, their fleet splitting again, unable to predict which was real. Captain, Harris said, astonished, they're falling for every trick. They have no idea what's real. They're starting to question their own sensors. Alina leaned forward, voice low but firm. Good, let them question. Confusion is as powerful as firepower. The more they doubt, the more vulnerable they become to human ingenuity. In the alien fleet, panic spread. We cannot trust our sensors. How is this possible? One officer shouted. Another whispered, voice trembling. Humans are not normal, they are different. Their strategies, they cannot be calculated. Humans thrived in unpredictability. They did not follow patterns. They learned from every mistake, adapted in seconds, and cooperated in ways no algorithm could predict. The Zareth were beginning to understand that they were facing something beyond their comprehension. Meanwhile, the Intrepid continued its subtle dance. Every decoy, every microphase shift, every false signal was a layer of deception. The aliens could see, but they could not understand. "Captain," Patel said, "they're sending a reconnaissance probe directly into the nebula. If it survives, it will track us, but I've prepared a little surprise for it." Alina nodded. "Deploy it." Vega activated a small, concealed module that emitted a pulse. It mimicked the Intrepid's signature perfectly, but in a direction far from the ship's true path. The probe followed it eagerly, transmitting false data back to the alien fleet. "They're chasing us, but they don't know it," Harris said with a grin. Alina allowed herself a small laugh. "Humans don't need to fight to win. They need to think." Hours turned into cycles as the humans led the aliens on a wild chase through the nebula. The aliens, confident in their technology and their intelligence, had never faced such chaos. For the first time, they realized that they could not predict humans, not because humans were stronger, faster, or better equipped, but because humans thought differently. Harris pointed at the screen. "Captain, they're starting to panic. Their fleet cohesion is collapsing." "They're not attacking, they're just chasing ghosts and shadows. They don't know where the real ship is." Alina nodded slowly. "Good. Let them see the truth eventually, but not yet. Humans are strongest when underestimated." The Intrepid emerged from the nebula, still unseen, still untouched, and still victorious in the psychological battle. The aliens' trackers showed fragments of signals, conflicting readings, and illusions of multiple ships. Yet they were still searching, still puzzled, and still confident they could catch the humans eventually. Alina turned to her crew. "This is the moment we remind them why humans are human." Vega activated the final microphase burst. The ship shimmered briefly, almost disappearing from reality itself, while the decoys continued to mislead the aliens. Patel transmitted a simple message on an untraceable frequency. "You tracked us. You thought you could predict us. You were wrong." The aliens received the message and froze. Their sensors could not locate its origin, and the simplicity of the message confused them even more. "This is impossible," a Zerath commander muttered. "They're everywhere and nowhere. How can a primitive species do this?" Alina smiled faintly. "That's the thing about humans," she said quietly to her crew. "We don't need perfection, we need ingenuity. We don't need speed, we need creativity. And we don't need power, we need each other." The crew nodded silently. They understood. This was the essence of humanity: teamwork, improvisation, and the courage to think differently. The aliens, watching from afar, began to realize something uncomfortable. They were not facing a ship. They were facing an entire species capable of outthinking them. For the first time, the galaxy's most confident hunters felt fear, not of human weapons, but of human minds. The Intrepid sailed onward, leaving the alien fleet scrambling behind, still searching, still confused, and still underestimating what humans could do. And for the humans, it was another day in space. Another challenge met not with weapons but with wit. Another victory achieved not by force but by thought. The galaxy had begun to notice humans, not as small, primitive creatures, but as unpredictable, unstoppable, and brilliant. The revelation was complete. Humans were not just participants in the galaxy. They were a species the galaxy would never fully understand, and that was their greatest strength. The Intrepid glided through the uncharted stretches of space, the nebula behind it fading into darkness. The crew moved with quiet efficiency, knowing the Zerath fleet was still somewhere in the sector, searching, confused, and increasingly humiliated. But for the humans, this was no longer a fight for survival. It was a demonstration of what made them unique. Captain Alina Marlowe stood at the bridge window, her eyes on the distant stars. "Status report," she said. Lieutenant Harris smiled, scanning his console. "The alien fleet is broken into 3 groups now. Their sensors are overloaded with false signals and their communication network is in disarray. They don't even know where we are." Alina nodded. "Good. Vega, how stable are the phase systems? Perfect, the engineer replied. We can continue slipping in and out of sensor detection for another few hours if needed. The aliens still won't find us. Patel, the communications officer, added, I've set up continuous decoy transmissions. Even if they detect one, there will be at least two more elsewhere. They're completely misled. Elena allowed herself a quiet smile. Humans don't just survive, they adapt. We turn every obstacle into an advantage. Outside, the Zareth fleet struggled to maintain coordination. Their pride had taken a blow and their confidence was shattered. For centuries, the Zareth had been the hunters, the masters of precision, the rulers of strategy. Yet here, in the shadows of an asteroid-strewn nebula, a single human warship had outwitted them at every turn. Commander, one alien officer said, staring at his monitors in disbelief, they've disappeared again. Their signals are gone, yet our decoys indicate 3 separate ships. How is this possible? They are humans, another muttered. They think in ways we cannot predict. They adapt instantly. They manipulate our sensors without touching them. This is unnatural. Back on the Intrepid, Elena's crew continued their preparations. We need to leave the sector completely, she said, but not without letting them understand who we are. Harris tilted his head. You mean make a lasting impression? Elena nodded. Exactly. We've shown them humans can outthink them. Now it's time to make them remember it. Vega activated a series of larger decoy maneuvers, creating the illusion that the Intrepid was splitting into multiple ships, each heading in a different direction. Patel amplified the transmissions, feeding false energy pulses to the Zareth fleet. Every move reinforced the illusion that humans were everywhere at once, moving faster and thinking differently than any alien technology could track. Captain, Patel said, they're starting to realize that the decoys are just that. But it's too late, they don't know which one is real. Their confidence is gone. They're panicking. Elena smiled faintly. Good, let them panic. Humans are strongest when others underestimate us, and this is the perfect example. The Intrepid slipped past the outer patrols of the Zareth fleet. Even when small units tried to intercept, the humans' phase systems and decoy signals made them appear to vanish or multiply. The aliens fired probes, scanned every sector and recalculated strategies, but nothing could predict the humans' movements. Captain, Harris said, eyes wide, they're splitting into even smaller groups, chasing decoys like prey. They don't know which one to focus on. They're wasting time, energy, and resources. Elena nodded. That's exactly what we want. Show them that humans are more than ships and weapons. We are clever, adaptable, and unpredictable. That is the true power of humanity. Hours later, the Intrepid reached the edge of the sector. The stars stretched infinitely ahead, uncharted and unexplored. The aliens were still trapped in their confusion, unable to regain control. Captain, Vega said, our energy reserves are stable. We can leave the sector completely undetected if we maintain current maneuvers. Elena turned to her crew. Prepare the ship for a final transmission. Let's send them a message they'll never forget. Patel activated the comms system, sending a simple, untraceable signal to the largest Zareth ship. The message was brief, but its meaning was clear. You tracked us. You thought it was easy. You learned nothing. This is what happens when you underestimate humans. In the alien fleet, the message caused a wave of silence. Their sensors showed no location, no signal source, and no energy signature. And yet, the message carried the full weight of human audacity. This cannot be, an alien commander muttered. They are everywhere and nowhere. How can a primitive species outthink us so completely? They are humans, another said quietly, almost with awe. They are unlike any species we have encountered. Back on the Intrepid, Elena watched the stars. That's right. They are beginning to understand. We are humans, and humans never give up. Humans never stop thinking, and humans always find a way. The crew shared quiet smiles. They had not fired a single weapon. They had not destroyed a ship, yet they had won. Not through strength, but through intellect, creativity, and trust in each other. Hours turned into cycles as the Intrepid slipped further from the sector. The alien fleet finally stopped chasing, realizing they had been outwitted at every turn. They would retreat, rebuild, and reassess, but they would never forget the lesson humans had taught them. Never underestimate creativity, intuition, and determination. In the quiet of the bridge, Harris spoke softly. "Captain, do you think they'll ever try to track us again?" Alina shook her head. "They will try, but they will never succeed in predicting humans. That is what makes us different. That is what makes us strong." Vega added, "They've learned something important. Humans are clever, resourceful, and relentless. They may be stronger than us technologically, but we are unpredictable." Alina smiled. "Exactly. And in the galaxy, unpredictability is power. Humans may not have the largest fleets, the fastest ships, or the deadliest weapons, but we have something more valuable: ingenuity, teamwork, and courage. That is what makes humans humans." Patel leaned back in her chair, glancing at the fading stars. "They'll tell others. They'll spread the story. Other species will hear about the humans who outwitted the greatest hunters in the galaxy without firing a shot." Alina nodded. "Let them. Let the galaxy see that humans are not to be underestimated. Let them know that intelligence, creativity, and trust in each other are the true weapons of humanity." As the Intrepid sailed into uncharted space, leaving the nebula sector far behind, a sense of pride settled over the crew. They had faced a superior enemy and had not only survived, they had triumphed, and they had done so on their own terms. Alina looked at her crew, her eyes shining with quiet determination. "Remember this, all of you. The galaxy expects humans to follow patterns, to act predictably, to be simple. We are none of those things. We are unpredictable, adaptive, and relentless, and that will always be our advantage." The crew nodded in agreement, feeling the truth in her words. They were humans, and humans never stopped surprising the galaxy. Far away, the Zareth fleet finally withdrew, their pride wounded and their minds racing. They had learned a valuable lesson. Humans were not merely another species to track or conquer. Humans were unpredictable, brilliant, and relentless, a species to respect and never underestimate. As the Intrepid disappeared into the unknown reaches of space, the final words of Captain Alina Marlowe echoed softly through the bridge. "Let them track us. Let them study us. Let them wonder where we are. Humans will always be ready, and the galaxy will never see us coming." And with that, the human warship sailed onward into the darkness, into the unknown, and into legend. The galaxy had witnessed the ingenuity, courage, and brilliance of humans, and it would never forget. For the humans aboard the Intrepid, it was just another journey, another adventure, another demonstration of what made humanity extraordinary. And for the rest of the galaxy, the lesson was clear. When humans were involved, expect the unexpected. And that was the essence of humanity.